Hello everyone, this is OK here, and just began streaming just now, and I've instantly got a raid from garnek123, who I was just playing some fun Crazyhouse 960 with just now. Um, Thanks for the raid. Um, so let's see what's going on here. So what's happening is we're having this is a Crazyhouse World Championship elimination match between CIW from France and garnek123 from the Czech Republic. Both of them 2500 strength players, although they're both in their 2400s right now. And we've already seen game one, which Garnek has taken. So while they're just warming up in the opening for game two, let's just quickly play through game one. So in that, CIW is white. He pushes, has a great center, and it's a French defense. If people can let me know if the sound is good. Yeah, it looks like everything is working okay. So it's a French defense. garnek123 is sacking. Can he really sack two pieces like this? Yes, he can, because he gets one back with the queen. He then sacks the queen. And this is looking, if black ever gets a pawn for f2, that would be very uncomfortable. But maybe he doesn't have time. So I was thinking here, just bishop takes pawn, bishop takes rook, and that doesn't really work, because then black would get rook at f1. No, he doesn't. Bishop covers, but maybe rook at h1. So kind of uncomfortable. So he decides to clear away that key pawn, but loses the piece, unfortunately. So not clear who's winning this, but it looks as if white is just about surviving, and then this comes. He loses the queen with check, and so unless he has something concrete, this is looking bad now, and black does indeed find the checkmate. So that was game one. Really interesting game. And we're now into game two. It's a best of 10, so if either player gets 5.5 out of 10 games, that's the win. Looks like a theoretical position. CIW was the old theoretician before the finisher. And he's castled, the knight's getting kicked, and we're up to the live position. So one interesting idea here might be this sort of move. So certainly this looks good. For white, his king is safe, and he has lots of ideas. He could capture and then... No, because capturing would bring the queen in. So whenever the queen comes out, you can be harassed, but here the queen is actually going somewhere, so you wouldn't want to capture. He goes for bishop. Well, that's a very safe move, going for the bishop rather than pawn. This diagonal was defended, so probably pawn was fine. Okay, the queen is being harassed now, and it's not obvious where it goes. f6 maybe? Takes. There's a choice of which knight to take back. There's always going to be a check, and you could pick up a bishop if you ever want it, but you could also, if you ever get a pawn, go for at h3. So white really wants a pawn, but doesn't have it. What he does have is very nice. So Garnet really playing well here. So if you take, that's kind of g7 becomes sensitive. So maybe keep the knight here guarding g7. But in the meantime, where does this queen go? You can go here or here, and the problem is if you're going to get moves like bishop h6. So maybe here feels safer, but then this comes. So kind of awkward position. And he goes for probably what's most sensible, which is just giving up the queen for a piece. Okay. And let me just check who's live on Lichess just now, and how's the stream? Is everything okay? Just see. My connection's okay. Yep. Lichess recognizes I'm streaming. My internet's fairly slow, but hopefully everything's working fine. So he decides to throw in the check, but that means the knight's going to become a liability because he has to take the bishop, and now white can simply take this knight. So he goes desperado with the knight and then takes the bishop. So black has given away a lot of material. At the end of this, you can see he's given up a queen for a piece. It's sort of a summary. And garnek123, interesting, he's using the queen to defend. Because he doesn't have any pawns in hand to defend, so he's using the queen to defend. Because these are both weak squares, hard to defend both these weak squares. Rook might be an idea, although that would open up this as a weakness. So instead, he's using the queen to defend, which does make sense. So I'm actually not sure. I expect white is better, but I'm not sure because white doesn't have that much in hand. And this is a nice move, supporting the attack. King is nice and far away, but rook at h2 is coming. Hi there, Abhijit. Yeah, so rook h2 is coming, now the queen is being lost. So what looked like quite a promising position for white suddenly is looking very uncomfortable. A lot of knights, so you have to be careful about opening up f7. So probably if knight takes bishop, he'll take here. And this square is even defended. So, but could always just defend the back rank with the queen if he wants to, but okay. He's got to be careful because knight takes rook is a mate threat. But okay. Black's threats are faster, that's what he's recognized. The threats here are faster. CIW is my favorite. So white, yeah, so CIW seems to be doing well here. He's given away the queen. So he's just basically trying to clear away all the pieces. Now I've got to be careful here. Is this a move? Or not quite enough knights? He's gone for it. So you don't take with the rook, or you get smothered mates. You have to take with the... Yes. Now what? Queen here, but just block with the rook. What's the plan? Queen takes rook. Takes... What did that achieve? You can go knight here and rook here, but then you don't have a third knight for f7 is the problem. So he's just defending. Again, this bishop move didn't really achieve anything. So CIW looks like he's got this now. But having said that, it's not obvious how to proceed. Knight here checks interesting. You pick up another rook. Ooh, nice. So if you knight takes queen, rook at h2, that's a sneaky one. Oh, but now rook at h2 is mate. Okay, so CIW finds a way, and we have 2 wins for black. And as Ajit says, yeah, CIW is a very active Crazyhouse player. Oh yeah, thanks Chuck for shouting out Joanna Tries, who raided us. We just before this stream we had a very fun game of Crazyhouse 960. There was just one critical move when Joanna took my queen when she should have just gone straight for my king, and it would have been very uncomfortable. As it was uncomfortable, but I was able to threaten some mates myself and find a nice mating sequence. So it was a fun game. So notice here that, just going to the beginning again, black has just provoked c3. It's not a bad move, but it's a move you have to be careful of because c2 will be a weakness. He backs off, puts a bishop here, and he's threatening pawn at c2. And with nothing in hand, not obvious how you defend it, c2. So it looks like he's giving up the queen, because if pawn at c2, he was just going to take the bishop and give up the queen. So that's, but now he's got a pawn in hand, so now he can defend. Probably. The thing is, he can't go knight a3 because just simply bishop takes knight, and suddenly you've got an even bigger problem of knight at c2 picking up the rook. So this weakness is a problem, and I suspect he's just going to use that pawn to fix the weakness. He doesn't. Okay. So pawn at c2 here, takes, and then what are you going to do with your knight? It makes sense. You could go here, then the queen doesn't have... Well, the queen could take this. And knight here doesn't really work. Well... Oh, he has a knight in hand. How did I not see he has a knight in hand? Oh, he gave away a knight. Yeah, this doesn't work. He should have just put a pawn on c2. I can't understand CAW going here. He's just given away a free rook. So, unless he had something that I can't see, this should be good for black, I'd have thought. White hasn't got enough for this attack. You could defend with the rook, for example. You could even defend with a pawn, maybe. You'd have to watch out. Defend with the pawn, where's the queen going? Defending with the rook seems safe. So we're going to see takes, but you see there are two defenders here, so it's impossible to keep control. Oh, so he's going to give up the queen. So if rook takes queen, what's the idea? If rook takes queen, the idea is bishop takes rook, but then queen takes pawn, rook at h8, king takes, pawn here, check, these sorts of ideas. Queen takes pawn, bishop takes queen, he's winning a queen. Ooh, he's winning a queen with check, so we're seeing some sharp lines here. Got to be careful. I think so. Rook takes queen. The problem black has, you can take a queen, but how do you defend? He doesn't have a knight to defend with. He only has a queen. So, although rook takes queen is tempting, maybe it's not the best. So indeed he does this. So just keeping control of h6, basically. Now choices. Do you go at g7? So what's the idea here? He takes, giving his king some left on f7 if it needs to run. I think CIW has just played this too carelessly, but Garnet's been very precise. I mean, it all started just he had to fix the hole c2. So Garnet has had to defend precisely, but having done that, looks like he's good. So actually, what his plan here is takes, and bishop here, which is actually a little awkward. So what would black do? Black could just ignore it and go for a mate threat. Okay, so he's inviting pawn takes bishop. So he's inviting pawn takes bishop, and he looks like he's just saying, look, pawn takes pawn, I'm safe. And I think he's right. Like, white really doesn't have anything here. But there might have been something technically stronger for black. Okay, going in now. I think it's about time to do this knight c2 and threaten the mate. I don't see how you defend that mate, by the way. It's not... Oh, he does it a move late. You see, now they're defenses with knight f3. Like, in this position, if you go knight c2, it's not very easy to defend this mate. You have to try and run or something, like just go g2. But now he defends the mate. So he's I mean, obviously black's completely winning, but he's going to have to fight for a while. He's going to take some more pieces. Discover check, that's nice. He's going to block. Bishop takes, okay, knight takes. Pawn in training is asking what the score is. It's 1-1. So what happened here? He took, sorry, I missed. He took here, attempted a counterattack. Oh, I see, he managed to pick up the bishop. That's what happened. CIW fighting, but there is no future. Oh, nice finish here. Luring the king into the corner with the magnet mate. So yeah, 2-1 Garnek. It felt like it's like the style of play against different opponents is slightly different, and I think CIW's style in that last game was more appropriate for a lower rated player. So playing something which wasn't technically accurate, but he'd have swindled a lower rated player because it required very accurate play. But Garnek is too good for that. So 3 wins for Black so far. So I think he needs to play more accurately if he's to win against Garnek. So here White's got like a dual layer. So you have both the defensive formation of pawns and the attacking formation. And it's almost like 2 layers of attack. Which means it's a lot harder for Black to break through. For example, this attacking layer is actually keeping out and defending as well. And all that just completely went with a very nice move. He picks up a pawn and chases away that defender, and suddenly White's position is crumbling, but he is up. I thought he's up a piece. So where did? So the piece was. I'm confused. Yeah, so White should be up a piece. Yeah, White is up a piece. I just can't count. So, yeah, White is up a piece, but his attacking formation has crumbled somewhat. Well, he's still holding. Was there any way of getting that last pawn? Takes. No, still all defended. Was there any way of chasing the knight instead of? So he's obviously afraid of f6, so that's why he played this. Okay. So f6 looks like it might come at some point. f6 is scary, actually. So this is really strong play from Garnek. You see, unlike the previous games, CIW kind of allowed stuff to happen in the previous game. Whereas this game, I think CIW's played quite nicely, but just this has been really strong from Garnek, and I can't see. Maybe throwing a check would be one idea. So it just provides some coverage for f6, and then, well, yeah, I was thinking then back off, but I was thinking backing off to here because now there's this move. But backing off to here didn't work either, by the way, because then there was a pawn drop on e7. So White has all the cards in this position. Okay, so the queen's under attack. We're going to have to move it again. White probably just takes the rook, but there are other possibilities as well. So lots of ideas in the position. So at some point you want to take the bishop. It's all about timing. When should he take the bishop? And as a rule in Crazyhouse, you want to take the piece when you need it. So I would say maybe take the rook, because if you don't take the rook now, you might not get an opportunity later. Queen will take this knight. So that's why, personally, I would have probably taken the rook. But he went a different route. He decided to take the bishop first. You have to say, why does he want to take the bishop? Because he wants to go straight in with an attack with the bishop. Oh. So Black's got problems because the rook is falling. But he goes for the knight, which seems strange. Oh, because it's a check. That's why he goes for the knight. Okay, so bishop here. And white doesn't have that much in hand, but the threat is something like just pawn here and knight here checkmate, for example. Or here, just the king has no defenders. So pawn here actually is very strong with a double mate. Oh, I might have kept the rook in hand. This felt so strong. And probably the only... And this doesn't work because after pawn takes bishop, you can just actually back off. So you could have kept the pawn in hand, just gone pawn here, and I can't see... Oh, maybe knight here would have defended, though. Okay. So he's done it in a slightly different move order. He's done this, and I don't see... Oh, I see. So if king takes rook, that's checkmate. That's very nice. So he has to back off or come up. Coming up surely gets you mated because rook takes bishop. And yeah, this can't work. And there's going to be discovered checks. Okay, so it's all over. There might have been cleaner ways of doing it, but very nice play from garnek. And maybe I'm wrong, but let's just go to that position. In this position here, is there something cleaner? So I was thinking here, but then maybe knight here defends. So f takes g3, you could take it, but you can just back off. And the threat is dropping a pawn here or here in the back rank mate. So bishop at c5. So why isn't this just checkmate? King e8, we'd have to promote, or rook at h8. Rook at h8, king d7. Okay, so it's not quite mate, but we promote. And so, okay, so that doesn't quite work. And then the other move I was thinking is, does knight here check work? And apparently, okay, so there's nothing completely forcing. So if there's nothing completely forcing, then what he did is as good as anything else. This is very nice. Queen takes d4, bringing his queen in. Okay, so nothing else. Okay, so garnek has a 3-1 lead, so we're looking from the point of view of CIW. He's 1-3, has to play a bit more solid. This is very strange, not taking and opening up the H file. He's taking Crazyhouse style, but he's not ready to use the open file. So he's created a big weakness on E3, which is why this is strange. But okay, maybe there's no time for black to exploit that weakness. It takes the bishop and castles, and suddenly now he's got that open rook file. You wonder, why not queen takes knight? And I'm wondering, why not queen takes knight? And there we have it. Because of he's losing the queen for a piece. Yeah, it's all because he took this way instead of this way. You see how e3 is going to become an issue already. And I feel like CIW is not quite playing up to his potential, just playing slightly carelessly. So for sure, white's got potential with the open rook file, but he's had to give up too much. And garnek is planning on castling. It's actually very dangerous to castle if white ever gets a rook and a knight, because you've got rook here check, knight here smothered mate because of this formation. Shows no interest, by the way, in taking this pawn. Gets the king out of checks. So everything CIW is doing makes sense, but doesn't feel... So I was thinking maybe deflect the knight with ideas of bishop takes pawn, bishop at c6. Is there time? Okay, this doesn't feel quite right. So why can't we just take this pawn, for example? We have knight here check, takes. I don't get it. He does take the pawn. Yeah, just garnek hasn't played this correctly. I'm pretty sure. Maybe he missed knight here. He's maybe hoping rook takes, queen takes rook or something. But no, this is looking suddenly winning for CIW. So it's 3-1 to Garnek. And Pawn in Training makes a very good point. Where is Barry Boswick? Yeah, so this is a natural move, but doesn't really do anything. So bishop here straight away. You go for the kill. Go for the kill. It doesn't do anything because queen here, we can take it with the knight, the rook, and the bishop's still guarding f2. Go for the kill because a pawn and a queen is surely going to mate if you allow this trade to happen. Takes, takes. Pawn here, check. Maybe king here would survive. Queen here, king takes pawn. Maybe you're surviving a few more moves, but bishop would come out, and so on. Okay, so this is suddenly completely lost, basically. If you move the rook, the pawn drops. If you defend the rook, you're losing even more material, and it's game over. So strange game though, because if you just go back a few moves, I think Garnek was doing very well, but just yeah. So if bishop here, there's also okay. He's just going for it. Doesn't do anything, but no harm in trying. So he was hoping for rook takes. That's a nice swindle, because then knight at takes would be checkmate. So if black had a rook, then he'd have something. So it shows even in that lost position, if it were bughouse, you could ask your partner, get me a rook, and suddenly you turn the position round, and you get the smothered mate. I think actually it's worth taking a quick look where Garnek went wrong in that game. So just let's look. Now, because Garnek is a title player, Lichess is just automatically analysing his openings, which is, well, analysing his whole game, which is not exactly what we want, but it is life. So this in itself is a kind of strange move. But I guess he's only got a queen in hand. So yeah, so that's not the problem. Okay. King h1 takes. So I thought this was. So what's gone wrong here? So I thought black was doing quite well. White was looking cramped, but maybe he's got that queen in hand and he has to do something with it. Takes. You can't allow. This feels like a huge blunder here. That knight was doing a critical function defending b7. So I was thinking actually in this position, this is fine, whether hitting that knight would have been a good idea. So Stockfish likes queen b5, get the queen out. So what should white do here? Knight at d5. Knight at d5. Okay, so I was wondering in these sorts of positions whether it was worth hitting that knight in some way. But Stockfish clearly is just not interested at all. So it moves like this. Rook d8, takes, bishop takes, and then bishop takes pawn, so I'm thinking. And to me this looked promising, but apparently we don't have a bishop for c6, so it's still, well, okay, so it's nice, but it's not completely crushing. Okay, so I got a bit distracted. So CIW was doing better than I thought, is the point. Okay, so let's go back to the action. Game 6. Have we missed anything? We have. We've seen a change of opening. He's now playing the old classical 4 knights, as it were. The bishop's on c4 and c5. And because the bishop's outside the chain, it's quite often that white wants to bring his bishop to pin along this diagonal. So that's what we're seeing. Now, playing this against CIW is brave, because he knows what he's doing here. He's an old school player, and he's now putting pressure on f2. It looks good. What does white do here? Does he expend a pawn on e3? Does he push d4? That seems reasonable as well. Or does he go for, I was about to say, does he go for his own counterattack with exploiting this diagonal? And what's the exact follow-up? Are we just trying to pick up a rook, or are we trying to pick up a rook with check, or is there something else that this is threatening? If we could pick, obviously, if we could get a rook at h8, we mate, but don't see how you get a rook here. Okay. Oh, Oppa in the Twitch chat. Hello. Bishop c5, old line, and Oppa says hi, Joanna, as well, and so the idea is knight takes c5, queen h4 to win the pawn back, but it's tough for black to play. And f3, bishop c4, black idea is that one can choose to play the knight sometimes to d7. So I just want to explain the line with knight f3, bishop c5. To keep knight b8 flexible. I mean, so you're just saying just on move 3. They both play 2 moves. Oh, I see. If knight takes e5, you've got queen h4 to win the pawn back. So that's sort of an interesting line. And you can sometimes, you said, play the knight to d7, apparently. Okay. I haven't seen knight d7 much, but yeah, interesting. Okay, so we were up to this point where the knight had landed on b6, and this happens, and he takes the rook, and he's opened up. I was thinking, do you take with the queen or with the bishop, which are also possible. He's taken with the knight, which opens up this bishop, I guess. And it's going too quickly for me. And this has come now to block off this diagonal. And he's taken, and he's willing to give up the queen. But he doesn't have to take the queen. Yeah. Oof. That's annoying. I don't know if CIW saw that, because it just looks like he got lost all his pieces. Well, what a family fork. He's attacking both bishops and the queen, and he's not interested in the queen. He takes both bishops instead. And okay, the rook finally dies, but it won a piece along the way. Oof! And then this move is just getting hit with tempo. He's going to have to retreat, isn't he? Bishop takes queen. Unless he's seeing some mate. Okay, so this is interesting. Has he seen something? Okay, so hang on. So knight takes pawn. Of course, he's attacking this queen. Okay, I missed this. Takes. So lots of ideas here. There's also knight takes rook, by the way, with ideas of pawn check and rook check. But he takes the queen first, and I'm so confused about this position. Does black have mate? That's the question. Does black have mate? Does black just have a good position? Yeah, knight at f3 check or knight to f3 check are also in the air. Okay, surely we can. How do we defend f7? He doesn't defend f7. Ooh. He just says you don't have a knight for g6, so we're safe. And black is safe, he's saying. So takes the queen. He's yeah, Oppa reckons. Black is safe. Takes. Oh, he promotes. Oof. I think it's not safe anymore because those are all open, and a rook at h7 will mate at the end. And he's got 2 seconds. Bishop takes pawn comes. Pawn here and rook here is the idea. Yeah. Okay, so it was in a different order because he went to h8 instead of h7. So that all went wrong for CIW. And the critical point was here. Knight takes h2, really nice idea. Apparently the winning move is queen takes g3. I didn't see this at all. And the idea is you can't really take it because of at h2, king h1, rook at g1 takes, oh, knight takes pawn, king to here and knight here, and you're picking up the queen. Okay, okay, so queen takes g3. This is a really critical move. Okay, so he did this instead. Bishop takes h4, and now I'm wondering, can we actually take the rook? And I was hoping, like, if he takes the bishop, maybe we have at h2, but the king is actually running away, so that is actually good for white. So he does take the queen, takes back, and notice g2 is defended by the knight. I hadn't noticed that, so that's why he tries and hits this, and maybe knight at f3 was a good move here, just pick up, but king in the corner, king in the corner, and then knight g4 threatening queen here, checkmate. So he has to, well, he can defend though. I mean, he can pick up a knight, rook takes, knight at e7, king here I think is still safe, but he can just defend with queen at h3 and he's safe. Okay, so what happened in the game was pawn here, very nice move, takes, and it's just too much, and he gets mated. Just control on all the light squares. So very nice play from garnek. So the critical move that was missed was queen takes g3. Queen takes g3 was absolutely critical here. And if you take the other way, then bishop at e3 is good apparently, and another move is at f2, and if you go rook takes f2, which is natural, then we're picking up that rook with check. And how do we do it? Actually, just go rook here, check, king takes knight, and these squares are all covered by the bishop, so you just need any old check and it's a mate. So a knight here check is mate, a bishop here check is also mate. So you can't take with the rook, but if you can't take with the rook, then we're at the same line with rook at g1 and so on that we saw earlier. Takes, king takes, because if queen takes, you're picking up the queen as check, smother, bishop here, check, rook here, king takes, knight takes pawn, king here. Oh, I see, you just pick up the queen and you have mate coming. It's impossible to stop. Oh, you're picking up the queen with check as well. So, yeah, so takes, bishop takes pawn and back rank mate. Okay, so long combinations. So garnek takes a 4-2 lead, and let me just quickly let's catch up with the action before I check the chat again. We're seeing this again. Now, that's an interesting move. What's the idea of it? Knight takes pawn. You're potentially opening up this, so it's a very brave move. So you want two pieces for your piece, but you've just opened up a bishop attack on h3, so it seems risky. You're kicking the queen away, and now he's hitting g2 and hitting the knight, but g2 seems fine. Oh, I said g2 seemed fine, but maybe he's seen something. That was brave. I just feel like there's nothing here for black, but oh, there was nothing. Oh, there was nothing, and then he loses his queen. Blunderman says knight f6 ideas. Okay, and it's all over. But okay, so garnek takes a 5-2 lead, but it looked like he was completely fine. So queen takes g2 just seemed like it was nothing. I thought white's completely winning here. It turns out he is completely winning. Takes. So why can't we? You see, by this stage it's too late because knight takes bishop is a threat. So f3 just doesn't work. At f3 maybe holds, but f3 is complete failure because f3 just weakened up this square here. So that was a big problem. And this is the critical point. Maybe you have to deflect this bishop. If he tries to do this, then you've got ideas like e6 and knight here. So probably he goes bishop takes, and now we try and how to defend f3. Maybe it's an example. Just dump a queen on. It likes e6 even, but it's a difficult position actually. So the queen sack was really interesting. It's just it's a difficult position to defend. Queen at e4, maybe the way to go. And There's no obvious move attacking the queen. Knight here. This is just giving some ideas. So, okay, that's just computer lines. It's probably meaningless. Let's get back to the live action. Tough position, very tough position, yes. So, Garnek has already won after 6 moves. How? I don't understand. It's not after 6. What? So this was the position. Oops. Knight g4 mouse slip. Of course, in all the other games it was pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, so the mouse slip was here, I expect. Okay, I mean that's a kind of a sad finish. Obviously, yeah, so castles, he just won a free pawn. Oof, he was probably expecting pawn takes pawn, so he pre-moved this and resigned, because obviously the queen is taking the knight and this is all over. Garnek progresses. Let me see, do I have... I do. I've got the game again. So the Crazyhouse 960 League is beginning on Wednesday, and some people have already started playing their matches. This is the game I just played against Joanna with lichess analysis. So hopefully you can see the pieces in pocket. So this is strong. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about when it says it's an error. I think this is all strong so far. Takes, pawn here again. I wouldn't worry too much about the saying it's an error. This is a very nice move. It's eyeing attacking my king. Bishop takes f3. Maybe this is an error because it's giving you a diagonal to attack me with, and I need to develop. So I think that I think is an error. I should really be developing my bishop and getting my king castled, because my king, notice all my pieces are on this side of the board, so I should be very quickly moving to get castled. So I'd say that maybe is an error. And notice how I'm trading a lot, but whose king is safer? Actually, your king is safer, Joanna. So you want to trade when your king is and I just didn't realize the dangers, basically. So I'm still okay here if I develop. But this move here, just not recognizing the dangers, I thought I'm just even pawn grabbing. I had the idea of bishop here and pawn drop here. But okay, go here, and straight away, Joanna just comes in. Very, very accurate. Very accurate. Knight at a6. Apparently bishop at a6 was also good. Bishop at a6, what the engine also likes. Takes, and not even taking. So queen takes a6 was natural, but bishop at c6 was even stronger. So really good play from Joanna here, and I realized here I'm in big trouble. If I take the bishop, if I move, the queen is taking this pawn. I don't know how to defend that mate, really. I don't, like if I just do this, queen takes a6, knight here, at b7, I just have no way of defending the mate. If I take the pawn, it's mate straight away. If I don't take the pawn, pawn takes rook is mate. So already I'm in trouble here. Queen takes bishop is giving a whole queen and it's threatening mate, and another queen is coming. So I did this, giving up the queen, and giving up the queen is the mistake, because that was the move to win the game for Joanna. Yeah, so the queen sack ideas on g7 weren't working later on, and I'll show. So this is the key point. This is just coming straight in. c6, king b8, queen takes pawn, knight here, and you don't have a... Oh, you do have a pawn. Oh god, yeah. Okay, so this is just game over. So I can't take that bishop, but if I don't take the bishop, what do I do? Because the bishop's also stopping me from castling. And all my pieces are on the wrong side of the board, so I really don't know what to do. Do I do something like this? I mean, okay, so I'm not mated just yet, but I'm so uncomfortable here. So okay, fortunately for me, Joanna took my queen, and the queen sack is not too bad, but I can just about defend because it's just a queen. Um, so I can just about defend, and this is a sneaky move trying to deflect my knight. Thought for a long time I don't really want to give a knight either, because after knight takes knight there are going to be ideas of like knight here, pawn here, takes rook, those sorts of ideas. So I really want to deflect that knight, and I don't want to deflect it with dropping a knight here, check, takes knight, because then you'd have a knight to attack me with. So I'm happy to give away a bishop, because bishops are less dangerous for me. And then bishop here again, just so your knight can never move, because I'm threatening. So you can't do anything. So yeah, this is, it's a serious move, because it's threatening mate, and you can't just go in for this. Go just take it. If it takes back, I've still got the mate. So you can never actually sack your queen here. I think that's the point Pepper was saying. You can take here, bishop here, and again, yeah, defending seems like a good idea. It just turned out I have a sneaky mate here. So apparently king c1 survives, and then I don't have a mate. I was planning this at d2. The point being, if you take it, queen at b1, rook takes, knight takes pawn is a smothered mate. And if you take it with the king, then I have a new knight at c4. And so yeah, this will also be mating. If king takes, so this knight is defended, so I can go. I didn't see this through to completion, but apparently queen here, queen takes pawn, king here, pawn here would be mate. But if you run the other way, if you try running the other side, then I don't have an all checks mate apparently. But apparently just taking the bishop, and there are too many threats. So yeah, I didn't see it all the way to completion. But what happened in the game was Joanna took the knight, and then I have a very beautiful mate by giving away the queen. And I just calculated. So two knight mate. Notice I don't want to drop a new knight here. I need to keep the knight in hand, flexible. So knight c4, if the king steps back, then knight here and pawn here is mate, because the knight's cutting the king off from running to the queen side. But if the king steps up, then I have just enough. Knight here check, bishop here check, and pawn here mate. So really nice. So maybe sacking the queen was a little bit dangerous. It was not so good, this one. But actually I'd say the key move wasn't the queen sack, it was going in like this. Yeah, it was a really good game. So that's one game I wanted to show you, and the other game I want to show you is, I'm way too proud about this. I lost dozens of games last night against Stockfish 7, and I was like winning a couple of them, and I finally won a game against Stockfish 7, and then I played one game against Stockfish 8, and I got 100% record because I won the game against Stockfish 8. So I'm 100% against Stockfish 8 in Crazyhouse 960, which is completely nuts. But okay, so what happened in the game is, so opening principles. Yeah, so we were discussing on Joanna's stream about Crazyhouse 960, and the first rule, maybe I've got the rules, I've got my own version of the rules written out, so maybe I'll just discuss them quickly. The first rule is, before you even play your first move, examine all of these pawns and see, are any of them undefended. And in this position it seems every pawn is defended, but even if it's defended, there's still always going to be sensitive pawns. So here, even before I play the first move, I should say these two pawns are the sensitive pawns, because they're only defended by the king. Oh, maybe this one as well. Yeah. So these are sensitive pawns. So obviously don't think for 5 minutes, because otherwise PyChess will time you out. But as long as you think for less than 5 minutes before taking your first move, then you can just have a quick look at the initial position, and also just by looking at the initial position you could get an idea of how your pieces are going to get out. So just by looking at the initial position you could say, this knight is in the corner, so it has to come out like this. These bishops look like they're pointing this way, so the way they're going to get out is with a pawn here and a pawn here, or some could be pawn here or pawn here and pawn here. The knight's going to come out to here. The queen is going to have to get out at some point, so this is going to go to here or to here. So you can already see And this knight could go either way. We're not quite sure yet. If it goes this way, it might be blocking the bishop. So maybe here. So already we kind of worked out what our position might look like. We're going to push maybe not the pawn to here. The pawn to here, the knight underneath. That will open up the queen. Here, here, knight here. And yeah, so we already have a kind of image of where we want our pieces. And I don't know if this will happen in this game, but because those bishops look a bit scary pointing towards the king side, maybe we want to castle queen side. Joanna calls them nervous pawns in the Twitch chat. Okay, so those are the nervous pawns. And I sent a link, actually, but I don't have... Let me just show you an example. 960. Let me just show you an example of... This is a really important example. So you're not only worried about the pawns, you're also worried about smothered mates. So my first thing was to watch about pawns, but the second thing is to watch about that it's not just their weak pawns, they're weak squares as well. So in Crazyhouse, this would never happen in standard chess. If you take back the bishop like this, already it's smothered mate. But if you take back like this is amazing. Check, check. You've got a choice. But either way, this is also check, and you're taking the queen for free. You can't even take back your knight. So, wow. Okay, so what we deduce, therefore, is bishop takes knight, and you just can't even capture that bishop back. So that's just a really beautiful example of something you have to watch out for in Crazyhouse 960. Okay, so that's the first thing, the nervous pawns, as Joanna calls them, but not only because they're weak, but also because even when you move them, the square will be weak and could be a smother, it could be a pawn drop, could be a knight drop. So Joanna also calls them sensitive pawns. Okay, so the second rule is, I notice even in Pepe's game, a strong player can leave their queen stuck in the corner the whole game and be basically playing the whole game a queen down. So the second rule is it's really important to open the line of the queen. Of course, you want to control the center, so that's why you often move rook pawns, because you know they're defended, and if the rook is in the center, that's good. It's not because you want to take the rook out, it's just because you know it's a defended pawn, and if he does take, you don't mind taking the rook out. It's not because you want to, but you don't mind. Then the thing is, just like in normal 960, the way to develop a bishop is simply to open the line. You don't have to move the bishop, you just need to open the line, whereas knights have to be moved, so that's what you have to be aware. How is my knight getting out? So knights are going to have to be moved, bishops, you just need to open the line, and okay, they can be moved eventually, but opening the line is the priority. And my next piece of advice is, this is a slow Crazyhouse league, so on board 1 it's 5+5, on board 2 6+6. Leave at least a couple of minutes to calculate mates, because finding a mate and not finding a mate can be the difference between winning and losing a game. So just leave a couple of minutes to make sure if there is a mate, you find it. If there isn't, it's okay. You've burnt some time, but it was potentially a time to win the game. Then very basic advice is, if the opponent checks you, if possible, block the check. I mean, there are exceptions, but usually you want to get your material in hand onto the board and block checks, just like in normal Crazyhouse. If your king is running around, usually try and keep your king on the back rank. If you're running the king up the board, okay, sometimes you have to because you get mated on the back rank, but if you're running up the board, it can get cut off, stuck in the center of the board, and it's very dangerous. So running up the board is like a last resort. Obviously, if you are running up the board and you get to here, this is actually a really nice place to be, because pawn drops can never hit you if you're behind the touch line, as it were. So the reason why you often see the king running all the way to the touch line is suddenly pawn drops can never hurt you. To castle, you drag your king over your rook, and just like in standard chess, you can't have any pieces which are... the king can never cross through check. So you drag your king over your rook to castle, but you can't cross through check. And on pie chess, just some final things, as Joanna was noting, is you can't hover a piece drop. You can't grab a piece in hand and hover it over the board. So you have to wait until it's your move before doing piece drops. You can pre-move piece drops, but notice you can even pre-move the drops by going click and click, which is nice, but it's just you have to be aware of it. It should be maybe easier to click and then click away to unclick. So maybe that can be made easier in future. Now this is my game against Stockfish 8. I think the time control was something like 5 plus 20 seconds increment, just to give me time, just to make sure I didn't flag. So notice he takes, so I do develop the rook. d4, I'm developing the knight, hitting this pawn, fair enough. And I'm probably going to be pushing this soon to hit the pawn again. And it looks like I can win that pawn. So I take it. I don't see why not. It looks like a free pawn to me. So what am I missing? What I'm missing is a counterattack on my king. Okay. And it wants me to go. It wants me just to bring the knight back and defend. But okay, I did this instead. Takes, takes, takes. Okay, so my king is very exposed, and he's already got an attack on my king. And this is the sort of situation where I didn't want to stay down because he'd have knight here check and pawn here. So this is one of those rare situations where you do need to run up the board. Attack the attacking piece, because he doesn't have that many pieces in hand, doesn't have that many pieces developed, so I had to go for it and take all the attackers. Why don't I take the pawn? I guess because this was coming out. So I was trying to get back to safety. So even if you do run out, try and get back to safety. Queen e4, the engine doesn't like it. I'm not quite sure what it would have played instead. Knight c5 it's suggesting. And if I just step back down again, bishop g5 check. And if I step back down again, what's the idea? Queen takes piece. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so that's a move I just wouldn't have thought about. But the idea is deflecting the bishop, and then he's got this and promote. So that's a very nasty move. I just wouldn't have seen that at all. But okay, he did this instead, which still looks threatening. The point is that if I take the pawn, takes, king in the center of the board, do you want to trade queens when your king's in the center of the board? I don't think so. So I said it's very important to open up the queen line, but you don't necessarily want to bring your queen out because it can be hit with tempo. Unless it has a plan. And here the queen does have a plan. It's planning to take this pawn, so it has a plan. There's nothing wrong with this move. So here I'm just planning, if I do take, I can take here and maybe run back to safety. This is my plan at this point. He does take here, and I do take here. And the problem is he does have checkmate, I think, in this position, but it's very long and complicated. Takes, 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 bishop here, check. Okay, he's lost the queen. Again, notice if I run down, rook here, check will be king here, rook, pawn here, and rook here. So the only reason I'm running up is simply I am mated if I run down. So that's in general, keep your king on the back rank, but it's if you're mated, then you have to. So the reason I ran up earlier is because the knight was weak, and I thought I could come up, take the knight, and then come back again. So, but yeah, if you see a mate, then run. What if it was Koth ZH960? Yeah, I'd have won it twice already if it were Koth ZH960. So the move he missed in this position, which wins cleanly, is knight e4. King f5. I don't see why I'd go to f5. The knight is defended. So what seems obvious to me is try and run this way. But the problem is rook d6. And the point is I've got a choice. Either run down and I get mated, or run up and I get mated. Run up is slightly easier. At g4 is mate, is it not? Why is... Okay, I'm being... So, oh, g4 is not mate because I can take it. You have to push g4, so it's defended by the rook. Okay, so running up gets me mated. But if I run down, I don't have that many squares. I've only got this square here. So you've got bishop here, check. If I step down here, I still don't. Oh, I see. Rook here is mate. So I have to do this, this. Um, I'm trying to survive. Um, oh, knight g5, and I'm basically going to be back rank mated. King g8 at f7, and what else could I have done? King e8, f7. F7 is going to be promoting. So yeah, that's okay. So I got it. Knight g5. Okay, so here and pawn here's checkmate. Okay, so that's what the engine missed. Amazingly, he went for this instead, even though it's the highest level. And this, and the engine thinks it's completely winning. Plus 31. My king's in the center of the board. It's stuck, but I've got a lot of pieces in hand. And so I do this, and the idea is if you take me, I've got queen at e2, king takes, and knight at d4. Queen is landing. Queen here check, king here. Oh yeah, just simply rook at c2 takes and takes his mate. And if he steps up, that doesn't really help him because of queen here check, king here, king here and rook here checkmate. So that knight can't be taken, so he sidesteps. But it looks like he's quite well defended with these bishops. So my idea is I try to take away the defense of these bishops. So rook here to try and create some blocker, and maybe the technically strongest move here is actually pawn at d4 because it stops me going knight d4 later. So pawn at d4 and then d3, and it's winning, but it's incredibly intricate. Bishop here. If bishop takes c2, queen at a1, rook at c1, and apparently knight takes g1. Knight takes g1, just casually, with the idea of rook e1, king takes, and then knight at f3 is checkmating. At g2. Okay, so queen h3, king here, pawn here is checkmate. Okay, so that would be pretty hard to find, but basically he doesn't have any. Knight takes rook. He doesn't actually have any material to tease me. So if I do this, I've simply got this. So the rook is no longer protecting the g4 pushes. Anyway, weird ideas. Okay, so that was technically the best defense from white. Instead, he did at e2, and that blocks the bishop's defense of this square. So I've got bishop here check, and of course, if king takes, then I have knight d4 and king d1. I can't remember now. Rook is queen here, king here, knight here, king here, queen here is checkmate. The two queens. Okay, so that wasn't exactly I hadn't obviously seen it to fruition, but the idea here was this check. And he can't take it because the pawn is pinned, so he has to take it this way, but this opens up his back rank. And so now I finish him off. Rook here check, drawing him in, queen here, pawn here, another queen here, and checkmate. So, okay, so see you, Joanna, and that was just wanted to show that nice win against Stockfish 8. So yeah, a pretty sweet idea, just opening up this back rank, and I had enough material in hand, and it somehow didn't notice the danger. Obviously, I don't think I can beat Stockfish level 7 or 8 on Lichess, so maybe the Fairy engine is slightly weaker and it doesn't use its full time and so on. But I'm just very satisfied to get this win there. Okay, so that's some Crazyhouse 960. Maybe I should show the teams since we're introducing this Crazyhouse 960 League. So these are the signups here with some alts as well. And Team 1, unfortunately you can't see everything, but it's Team 1 is Mugwort, PKR, Pepelu, Blunderman 1, Safe King, CR7 Fanatic, and Joanna Tries. Team 2 is Legion Destroyer, Tornon, JR Paddy, Astavakra, Abu Nikabi, who's Abhijit, Mr. Scribbles, and Adande 1. Team 3, which is my team, is Clearcast, Freebie, myself. I was in Electrical, Noble Chucks, Non-Is East, and Seaflower. And Team 4 is Red Button. I think 5 of the 17 members are from Russia. So it's Fumitox, Terra87, G. Rogers, 4 Eagle Bugmate, Zaraza, the Crocodile Hunter, and Pathy Josh. So those are the 4 teams. 4 teams of 7. Every team will play every other team. Week 1 begins on Wednesday, but already we have some action. We have 3 matches already completed. So that's what's happening in the next 3 weeks. Some fun Crazyhouse 960. And in fact, if any member of the league, if any member of the league has won, plays 3+2 or slower rated games against other members of the league, there's also a $10 prize just for most warm-up games played. The league itself will have no prizes. This is just a special, just incentive to get some games played on pie chess between people of different ratings, so that the ratings become more fluid. So that's for rated games 3+2 or slower, any member of the league, and people can still join as alts if they want to. So far the alts are 264 Brock on board 1, Tashak on board 2, Marlon on board 4, Luca 3916 on board 5. My son never called me. Also FJHS son is also on board 6, and Dewaditya on board 7. So you've got a full set of alts as well as a full set of teams. So looking forward to some fun 960 action, and it was fun playing Joanna on her stream earlier as well. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, CWC is entering rounds 5 and 6 out of 9 of the elimination. So that should be round 6 should be completed in the next couple of weeks. So we should have some candidates over the summer. So looking forward to that as well. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. If there's anyone I should raid, let me know. Oh, looks like Pepperloo is streaming. So Joanna raided me in her stream with Pepperloo. Let's raid Pepperloo back. He'll be probably playing some chess on Lichess. So thanks everyone for watching, and have a great rest of the weekend.